All right, everybody, we'll call the meeting to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, all right. Changes to the agenda. I am going to flip-flop the presentations because I think the audit will take a little longer than the rent.fund or rent fund, whatever. Anybody else have any changes? No? All right. Mike, are you ready with Zoom? All right, Chris. Chris, are you on? Are you there?
I am.
All right. The floor is yours.
Thank you. I just requested, there it is. Let me share my screen real quick. So thank you guys for the opportunity to present tonight. I will keep it very high level, very quick. I figure this is not the top of everyone's agenda here, and there's other things to discuss. So again, we'll keep it super quick here. I'm representing Red Fund. I'm the head of all partnerships. I'm on the account management team as well. I've been working with the mayor here to see if this is something that the greater community would be interested in. We are in several locations currently in Florida, as well as next month we will be installing in Bay County, in Surfside, which is in North Miami. I'm sure you guys are aware of that, and some other locations. So we're in 300 locations total. And the reason I bring that up is not as a brag or anything like that. It's we've created a network, right, for making recreation more accessible. And with that, there's a membership program that allows your community to access all of our nationwide stations for one cost. It's $99, and it gets them unlimited usage for an entire year. But just want to talk about that membership program for a quick second. Who we are, again, big town on bike share programs. We're in 300 plus locations. We bring a self-service kayak and recreational rental equipment kiosk to your community. It makes your existing amenities or your body of water accessible to your community. Even in Florida, most of the community does not own the equipment needed to get out on the water. And part of the other thing that we do is, again, are the rec equipment kiosks. I'll flash that real quick just to see if that channels any questions while I discuss this. We build game lanes and, again, rent the equipment needed to play those games directly on site, completely self-service. So that basketball court, that disc golf course that you see, that doesn't see a ton of usage. The bottom line is most people don't own the equipment needed to play, right? And so by allowing people to rent the equipment needed to play, we see utilization spike dramatically. But back to the kayaks, because I know that's what Mark, that's what we talked about. Bottom line, we install the self-service kayak station. We follow your approval process to get a contract signed and get everything sorted. After we have an agreement in place, Rent Fund takes over. We are the operators of this. We handle delivery and installation. We handle all maintenance on this. So for all of our programs, we hire a local person, somebody who's a member of your community. It could be somebody's neighbor, an intern on staff, or you could participate 0%. And we hire somebody that we trust. You guys get to meet them, all that stuff. This person shows up every 2 weeks to maintain your station, right? Preventative maintenance. They inspect all the equipment, they clean everything. we do whatever we need to handle. In addition, this maintenance person is on call, right? So when users rent the equipment and return it, they are then, as the final step to then the return, required through the mobile app needed to rent this. They are required to submit a photo of the equipment back inside the locker. We own the patent on this technology, right? The technology is able to identify that everything has in fact been returned. Everything is okay. It will then end the rental for the renter. They're free to go on their way. Some cases, though, let's say that the mayor goes out and he leaves that light vest. The light vest sinks, right? It's lost. The technology will notice that light vest is no longer there. And of course, we don't want the next user to come and rent without a light vest. This top right locker, let's say, is marked as out of service. Nobody can come rent from this top right locker. At that point, the technology will notify and dispatch that maintenance technician to come out and replenish your locker with a brand new replacement light vest. The bottom line here is we flipped the script. Why I'm passionate about working at Rent Fund. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a first-time home buyer. I've in recent times, and the bottom line is dealing with vendors is a nightmare in most cases. We can be self-aware about that. The bottom line is it's a system thing. A salesperson sells you something, they install it, you have questions, but that salesperson is focused on the next sale. And that leads to not good service whatsoever. What we do, I will be your account manager as well, right? There's no over-promising here. That shift where traditionally cities have been left holding the bag, we flipped it. We charge as little as we possibly can to cover our costs on the install price. We then share the rental revenue on these, and so we are tied. If this station does not perform well, Rent Fund swings and misses, right? We rely on the rental revenue of these stations to drive our business, and so happy to dive into that more. But considering the amount of time we have here today, I will be super quick here. We also handle the marketing. We create a website for the program. Your parks team will link out to that page. It's where your community can learn and understand how this station works. There's a video on how to rent and return, a video showing people renting and returning and how to do it, pricing, Google Maps, etc. We handle the customer support 20 hours a day, 7 days a week, human support on the signage here on the station. We are directing people to contact Rent Fund, not the parks team. There's no day-to-day actions from your parks team required on this. This is a fully turnkey solution that we manage. And then maybe even most importantly here, we handle the liability insurance on this. So you guys are added as additionally insured, completely indemnified as it relates to this program. And you're added as, again, additionally insured covering you guys. We have folks, towns from the size of 800 to the Inner Harbor in Baltimore. Panama City is about to get a station, so on and so forth. So that's kind of generally how this works at a high level. Bottom line is you download the Rent Fund mobile app, 4 pieces of instructions right here. You sign a liability waiver, releasing the city from any liability. You watch a brief safety tutorial, and then you take a photo of the QR code and you pull out the equipment. We can do any mix of the above. Single kayaks, tandem 2-seat kayaks, and stand-up paddle boards. Comes with a paddle and a Coast Guard approved life vest. We also, as I mentioned, build game lanes and or activate your existing amenities with just installing a rent equipment kiosk to pair with those existing amenities to basically, again, as I just said, activate them where people can rent the equipment. This here, just to channel some imagination, you can, anything that fits in a 12 by 12 inch box, we can rent out, whether that is cornhole bags, whether that is mini golf, like we work in Sedona, Arizona, or mini propane tanks for a campground. Would we like to dive into pricing? Tell me where we should go from here. If you guys want to hit me with questions.
I think for now, we'll take a few questions from council, and then if it's something we want to move forward with, we'll put it on the agenda for next month, and we can discuss it in more in depth. But do you guys have any questions, comments? Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. One question is, I think this is a good idea, if we started with the 4-unit, and, because we're a small town, and we saw a need to increase it to 8, would we need to wait the 5 years, or could we increase it and just pay the additional fees?
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, no, you would not have to wait at all. Again, that's part of kind of what, long story short, we want to empower communities. The bottom line is I coach youth baseball. I assume there's some other coaches out there in the room right now. Bottom line is my 11-year-olds are arguing at 11 a.m. on a summer Saturday who's playing who in Xbox baseball, right? And gone are the days where we're, just running around the park and there's a lot of competition for attention. We make money when you guys do, and it's a hit in your community. If you wanted to, the city of Virginia Beach started with, 36 kayaks. Within the first 3 months, they turned all 3 of their 12-unit stations into 16-unit stations. So at any time, you can add units. Just short, long answer short there.
Thank you.
Thank you. John, anything? Brett? Doug?
What's the time frame from if we were to initiate a contract from when it would be to installation?
Absolutely. This time of year, as you can imagine, it's the crazy time of the year, but not everyone is blessed with the quality of weather that you guys have, and so everyone's trying to get these installed from May to June here. Typically, it's 60 to 90 days. For you guys, potentially a lot quicker, right? Like I said, I have, we need to obviously batch deliveries. I can't go from California to Maine to Florida to Missouri, or else, these would be a lot more expensive. The good news is we will be in Surfside, either in mid-June to late June, worst case early July, and then with that we'll be in Bay County as well, and we'll do some checkups in Mountain Volusia and some of the other locations like Wales that we currently work in. So I would say somewhere between 30 to 60 days as the max lead time, but obviously this is first come, first served. So as soon as a contract gets signed, I hyper-speed it, we get the onboarding process started, and we get you on the install calendar. So if it's something that we can finalize in May, you're looking at potentially a June to early July. If it's finalized in June, could sneak into August, but I think you're going to benefit from jumping onto the existing install trip that is already planned for Florida. I forget if it's either the last week of June or the first week of July.
Yeah, I think it would be much later in the year. For context for anybody in the room, we're considering, or my idea anyway, is when the pier gets redone, we're putting in the kayak launch, right? So, and that isn't going to be until second half, at the earliest, second half of this year, right?
Absolutely. And in that case, of course, again, first come, first serve. If it's something where, we got our ducks in a row, and bottom line is we could structure it where you guys don't have to pay until we install it. And you would just be kind of first on that list for that upcoming time frame that works for you guys.
Yeah, and it'd have to be something that we put into the budget for next fiscal year, which is October 1st. Well, Kristen, do you have any questions?
No questions that come to mind on this. It
Okay.
seems pretty straightforward at this point, but of course, if we take
Sure.
this a step forward, I'll definitely look into any documentation we need to review.
Yeah, Mike.
No questions.
All right. So Chris, I think that's all for now. If the council's good with it, we can put it on next month's agenda and discuss whether we want to, try to put it into the budget for next year. And then obviously that gets continued into the budget discussions, all that stuff. But so we'll do that. So Chris, we'll do that. We'll talk about it next month, and maybe we'll have you on hand, to ask any questions or to observe and, just be there to ask any questions or answer any questions.
Yeah, absolutely. If any, I don't know, I don't want to breach a process or anything, but if anyone wants to chat, or if it makes sense to get, if you guys have questions before then, anything like that, if it's appropriate, happy to have a conversation and walk through any and all of the specifics. Again, there's no small print in this. We just want to make sure that you guys are fully aware of how it works and stuff like that. Make sure we answer all the questions. We want it to work for your community. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you guys so much for the opportunity to present this to you and your community.
All right, thanks, Chris. I'll pass your info to the other council members, and they can reach out to you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Appreciate it.
All right, thanks.
Have a great night, guys.
You too. All right, moving on. So we have the audit presentation from Carr, Riggs, and Ingram, CPAs and advisors.
Hi, good evening. I'm Christine Olran. I was the partner who oversaw your financial statement audit. So in front of you, you have the bound copies if you want to follow along. The other one with the spiral. Yep, there you go. It's up to you, but I'm just going to take you through some highlights of things that if I was sitting on the council, I'd want to look at. So you did get a clean, unmodified opinion, which is the opinion that you want to get, which is good. If you wanted to go to page 24, that is where the activity of your general fund is. So if you were to compare 24 to 23, your revenue in your general fund was down 208,000. That was because last year you used up the rest of your ARPA grant. So you used 712,000 of that was left. So it left you with no more ARPA grant for this year, causing a decrease overall in your revenues. But your property taxes were up 375,000. So your recurring revenue did increase. You also charged the parks enterprise funds additional 60,000 for administrative services that the general fund provides to the parks. Your expenditures were up $1 million. This was primarily capital outlay, so your one-time purchases for stormwater, repaving, and police cars, that was 760,000. And then the rest of it was primarily for raises and benefits, because health insurance never costs less, ever. If you wanted to look at how healthy the town is, if you look at your unassigned fund balance compared to how much you would use for your recurring expenditures, so if you take out that capital outlay, the one-time purchases, you have about 2.5 months in your unassigned. So it's generally recommended to have 2 to 3 months, so you're right in between that window. And also, you have a lot that you put in committed for future capital projects, and since that's a council decision, you could always uncommit that if for some reason you did need those funds. Even if a hurricane comes through, FEMA takes usually like 2 years before you actually see the cash. So,
In a short time.
yeah. So if you had any debris removal or something, you could always end up delaying some of those. And you also set aside things such as, insurance and those things for deductibles. So you still have plenty that's in those reserves, even though it's not sitting in your unassigned. On page 27, that goes over the change in your enterprise funds, so that's your parks funds. You did have 170,000 more in revenue this year, so 139,000 was more of the fees for the parking, and then you had 31,000 more in parking tickets. Your expenses were increased to 129,000. Again, additional 40,000 or so for salaries. You would charge that fund more, 60,000 for the general fund services, and there was about 70,000 in repairs to the restrooms and the boardwalk. You did get 30,000 of insurance proceeds to offset those repairs for the boardwalk. So you ended up at 180,000 to the positive. So historically, from several years ago, this fund looks much better than it used to look. Before we had all the increase in rates and the different meters that aren't coins, it was usually barely plugging along. So it's paid off all its debt to the general fund. So overall, it's looking much better than it was. And then you also have 2 pension plans that the town is responsible for. So your police and fire fund is actually overfunded as of September 30th. So the nice value of the investments puts you at 105% funded over the liability. Probably not that today, but it was at September 30. And then your general employees plan was at 91% funded. So in the back, there's required supplementary information. It gives you 10 years worth of data. So that fund went from being 60-something% funded 10 years ago up to 90, so that's really good. To give you some comparison, the Florida retirement system, that does a lot for the whole states, all the school boards and a lot of cities are in that. That was at 84% funded as of June 30 of '24. So you were a little bit better. Stock market was a little better in September, but so that's kind of where you want to be. So you're nice and well funded in both of your plans now. We did have on page 88, we had 2 areas of improvement. So we didn't have any material weaknesses or significant deficiencies. Those are things that are like, we really got to fix the controls. These were just mostly things of getting them booked correctly in your software. So in 2023, you switched to your accounting software. So this was the first year that we would have had the opening balances that need to be reversed. So the first one was just reversing the accrued payroll. Last year, you didn't have to do that because you didn't start it at the beginning of the year. So it was the first time Jennifer would have needed to do that entry. So it's just reminding we book it at 9:30 and then on 10/1 you reverse it because then you process it through the normal payroll process. And then for accounts receivable and accounts payable, the way she typically books it in cash for it to get paid and for it to receive, she knew it belonged in last year, but the way it got recorded, it was adjusting cash instead of showing up as receivables and payables. So it was just getting it properly entered into the software. It wasn't that she didn't know it was in the right period, she knew it was in here, it was just getting it in the right spot in the balance sheet. So those are the only areas of improvement that we had. So I know Jennifer's having a lot of fun hooking all of it in the software herself. We learn little things each year to try to make it better. Does anyone have any questions or anything I can answer about this? I wasn't going to read the entire set of statements for you.
Doug, you got anything?
I don't have any substantial questions to ask. Thank you, Christine, for going through.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Any minor questions? You said substantial. No? Okay. Brett?
Nope. Thank you.
John? Gary? I got nothing. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Welcome.
And
Thanks.
Thank you, town staff, for a good clean audit.
Never had a doubt.
No.
All right. Public comments. And you're free to go. You don't need to stick around. But you can for the fun. All right. Public comments, non-agenda items. Persons wishing to address town council on a matter not listed on the agenda may speak at this time. Speakers must provide their name and address, observe a 3-minute time limit, speak only after being recognized by the mayor, which is me. Vinny, you're the only one. And that's
The only one.
the only one I got a card for.
Man, all right, cool. Well, hey, Vinny Toronto, 313 10th Terrace. What I wanted to do today is just introduce our intern that we've got here, Colleen Davis. I'll let her do her introduction. Her degree from UCF sounds just awesome, and I'm really glad that they're offering it. But she's going to be with us for the summer, focusing on a dark sky map of the town. We're going to do some bat boxes to try to find some nature-based solution to help with mosquito control. So she's going to be working on that. And then turf ordinances, trying to figure out the best way to talk about turf in a town and use it both residential and commercial, because it can be as impervious and non-porous as pavers. And so if you're doing your whole lot in turf, then it might as well be all in pavers. And all that stormwater runs right down to the road and into our system. And so we're trying to see what the state's doing on that and what the industry is doing, so that we can come to you guys later with some ordinances and see where we want to go from there. But I'm going to let Colleen take over and introduce a little bit about herself. And do you guys have any questions? Go ahead, Colleen.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah. You can move it too if you need to.
Okay.
Just pull it down, but we can hear you fine.
So yes, I'm going to UCF. I'm expected to graduate next spring. And I'm getting a degree in environmental science with a communication and planning track. So it's basically like urban planning, sustainability, this sort of thing. So this will be a perfect task to get me experience. I've taken 2 semesters of GIS, which is like a mapping program. So I'm hoping to be able to use that software in the dark sky process. And then I was handed a binder today with a lot of information about turf, so I'm going to do my very best there too. But I live right over the bridge, and I love this community, so I'm excited to be a part of it.
Cool.
So thanks for having me.
Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Glad to have you on board. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
That was it, other than e-waste event, August 9th. We're going to have here in town. We're teaming up with Melbourne Beach, working with Chief to figure out the traffic pattern. so that we don't.
At town council or town hall?
That'd be the
we're-
Long
we're- We're
Doggers.
trying to figure out where. I
okay,
talked to
perfect.
Danny about the shopping plaza on A1A, and she's on board. Saturday, the 9th, from 9 to 1 is the date and time. But we want to make sure that the traffic is good. Again, if we did it here, we were concerned with the fire station, didn't want cars in the way. So we'll find a place. Melbourne Beach is teaming up with us, so we're going to split the costs of it, and then just collect all the e-waste that people have before they go back to school. If they've got new laptops or whatever, we'll get flyers and dates out and look to do it. Satellite Beach, I can't remember how many tons of stuff they got. They did it with Indian Harbor Beach, and they collected a lot of e-waste.
E-waste like computers, batteries.
Computers, TVs, batteries, yeah, all that stuff. I think they even do like tractors and stuff, but we're not doing that. But the smaller, but this company out of Orlando, they'll take it, they do DoD standards when it comes to hard drives as far as wiping, so you don't have to worry about your data. And they'll take it, if they can reuse it, they'll give it to nonprofits. If not, then they'll find the appropriate place to dispose of it.
Cool.
Yeah, so August 9th, you'll be hearing more about that. We just got the date, and we just got to figure the traffic.
Cool. Thank you.
All right, thank you all very much.
All right, public announcements. Thank you.
you.
Good to meet you. There are openings on the following boards and committees: Budget and Finance, Civil Service, and Code Enforcement. Indialantic Town Hall will be closed on Memorial Day, May 26, 2025. All right, consent agenda. Is there a motion from council on the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second? All in favor of approving consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right, motion carries. Ordinance public hearing. Ordinance second final reading public hearing relating to renaming Town Hall. An ordinance of the Town Hall, Indialantic, Florida, renaming the Indialantic Town Hall to the Paul R. Gugelman Indialantic Town Hall, amending section 1-2 definitions, amending section 28. 1B2, naming facilities, making findings, and providing for an effective date. Approve proposed building signage. That's part of this, right?
That was afterwards, yeah.
So it's two separate things.
Yes.
Okay. Is there a motion for item number 1?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make the motion to approve the renaming of Indialantic Town Hall to the Paul R. Gugelman Indialantic Town Hall Center, or just Town Hall.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any comment, Doug?
No comment. Great idea.
Brett? John? Carrie? Public comment? All right. All those in favor of approving ordinance 2025-04, renaming the town hall, Paul R. Gugelman Indialantic Town Hall, say aye.
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 All opposed. All right, unanimous. And we're approving the signage. Like,
That's later in new business, I think, actually, right?
There's a drawing in there.
Or is it, okay. All right. Couldn't remember.
nope.
Little-
Yeah, there's a drawing in the packet, right?
Oh, is it in the packet?
Yeah, it was in the package last.
Okay, I'm just like, thought it was. Yeah, there's a drawing and that's the lettering proposed. There was two different sizes and that was actually the smaller size and looked better and proportional for that. So we just approval to go ahead and purchase. It was what, $4,200 and some dollars? Correct. Right around there. And we'll try to get it maybe by next month. I got a plaque I got to get and everything. From Dad and renaming the sign. We'll do either in June or July, a little thing before council meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do it July. I'm not going to be here in June.
July?
Yeah.
Okay. We won't rush as fast.
Okay. And Joe, you're on top of that. You're taking care of it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Joe. Good job.
Somebody with a drums, so we can do a drum roll?
Huh?
Yeah.
Do a drum roll?
Yeah. Okay. So, is there a motion to approve the proposed building signage?
I'll make a motion to approve the proposed building signage as included in the town agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any comments? Public comments? All right. All those in favor of approving the proposed building signage, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed. All right. Cool. Paul R. Gugelman. And somebody will reach out to Pam, or I will, or somebody. Okay.
Yeah, we can reach out when we have it, the date in July.
Unfinished business. Item 1, vote to approve the town manager and town attorney to move forward and create an ordinance to rename North Riverside Place to Eastminster. Is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make the motion to rename North Riverside Place, the specific area of which we discussed at last council meeting, to Eastminster Way.
Is there a second?
Second.
Doug, you have any comments?
No comments.
Brett?
I was loud enough.
Did you get the memo?
I did.
Brett, any comment?
No.
John? Okay. Did we reach out to the Flavins?
We're not going to affect their property at all.
Okay.
So we're not changing there's actually on 2nd Avenue, but their address, because the way it faces, is actually North Riverside Place, which runs east, or on the west side of their property. So it's not going to affect them any. We're just naming that road east to west to that point,
Right, okay. You mean north-south?
or north-south, yeah.
Okay. All right. Public comment. All right, big crowd. All those in favor of approving the town manager and town attorney to move forward to create an ordinance to rename North Riverside Place to Eastminster Way, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous. All right, new business. Discuss duration of moratorium from issuing code enforcement summons for commercial parking requirements. Mike, you kind of,
Yeah, based upon the meeting last month, Mike brought it up. We're in the process of doing a parking review with our town engineer, Scott Glovitz. He's done some preliminary work on it, but he needs some more data from the actual businesses, square footage, and seating and stuff. So staff has taken it upon ourselves, and we have some staff members going to go out and measure that, and we're starting actually this week doing that. So we figured that till we can get back to this parking study might take about at least probably 2 to 3 months with Scott, giving us a little time to get in there another month or so and get all the businesses and stuff.
all right. Any comment, Doug?
So based on that timeline, just getting the study concluded and getting a recommendation, that would be 2 or 3 months. But then if we had an ordinance drafted, that's another month, and then two readings. So that's on the timeline of 6 months. Correct?
I'd ask for 120 minimum, but I mean, it's going to be till we get an ordinance in effect too. So we're looking, at least probably 2 months till we're back to council, and say July, we have that information. And then if we decide how to move forward and stuff,
Yeah.
developing the ordinances, you're probably talking 6 months.
Yeah. So my only concern with that, not completely understanding what we, by doing a moratorium, what that would do other than code enforcement. I'm assuming that's not going to affect the lives and safety of most folks. Let's just put it that way. Is that appropriate just for the council to consider for that duration of period? Do we believe that that's creating any kind of unsafe situation? Not that I think it is or isn't. I just wanted to ask that question.
That's why originally it was like 90 days, but I guess 120, we could always extend it. That would be my request.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Doug is asking, is there an issue to safety right now? Is that basically?
There's not a safety
Yeah,
issue.
because I mean, when we say moratorium for issuing code enforcement summons, I believe I understand what that means in terms of we're not going to be issuing letters of violation of town code such that they would have to then remedy that situation and then come before the code enforcement board during that time period and go through that process of warnings and back and forth. I don't foresee that as being a public safety issue by way that we're going to be lawless in terms of parking. Correct me if I'm wrong. I just want to make sure when we say there's a moratorium that I'm correctly understanding how that's being implemented.
Correct. We're not saying a moratorium on regular parking, just in the business section and enforcement before the code board. I had a couple people actually email with questions thinking like we were going to enforce illegal parking.
Right. Yeah, that's essentially what I'm trying to
So
ask.
we're going to still, if you're parked illegal, in front of a stop sign 30 feet or, in front of a fire hydrant and things like that, that's still going to be enforced. The only thing we're enforcing is the business zone parking requirements. That
So
we're
is there,
asking for a moratorium.
is there a portion of the code that we should reference in the moratorium so that we can be specific into what it applies to, so it's clear and obvious? I see Kristen's shaking her head.
Yeah, maybe like 113 or so.
Yeah, I think it would probably be prudent to do that so everybody's clear on where we're at. I don't have the answer right at my fingertips.
I think it's
I
like
was looking it up.
113, if I remember right, somewhere along those lines.
If we want, we can, obviously, any other questions, but if we need to table that and then come back to it later in the agenda, that's fine. I don't have any other questions, thank you.
Brett, any comment? John? No. Carrie? Well, that was quick. Did you find it?
Give me a second, I'm looking too.
And Mike, we talked about this earlier, but 90 days we could get the results, but not necessarily the recommendation, where the 120 we can get everything.
I think we have everything together and stuff, and we might even be a little ahead of schedule, hopefully, and we can be at least talking what we need to do if we're gonna do anything. So we'll have a better direction of travel for what we're gonna do.
Okay, just in general, this is gonna be in Article 6, Section 113, which is the zoning-related regulations, nothing to do with the parking under the, regular code of ordinances.
And it's, for layman terms, it's more or less building code, right?
Yes.
A business has to have so many parking spots per square foot or seat in the case of a restaurant, whatever. So that's it.
Including for zoning, yeah, that's what that Section 6 covers, zoning.
One more follow-up question, Mr. Mayor, if I will. So is there any consideration for if somebody, I don't know if this is the case, and obviously we're a very small community, so there's not a lot of activity, but if somebody was going to open a new business with new seating capacity, how would we evaluate that?
Right now, we'd evaluate the current code.
Okay, but this moratorium wouldn't impact that?
No, because we need to tell them this is the approved by the current code, what's going on,
Okay, thank you.
and it would need to be addressed down the road.
Is there a motion from council? Or do we need a motion or just consensus?
Kristen?
I think consensus would be
All
sufficient.
right.
Yeah.
Everybody good? Yeah?
120 days?
120 days for section
113.
113 parking? Moratorium? A moratorium of 120 days.
All right, moving on. Item number 2, discuss town participation in Drown Zero. Doug, do you have any comments?
So, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I went out, thank you for the refresher on some of the stuff, the material that had been provided previously. So I went out and found the United States Life Saving Association website, and they publish a bunch of data. You can download the entire database and filter and sort and do pivot tables and all kinds of good engineering geeky stuff. So that's what I did. But I condensed it down so none of you have to be subjected to that. So I set it out in a letter real quick. And I just want to point out some findings, and then I'll save my comments, my personal opinions for the very end. But if you look at the map, and I don't know if folks out there have it or not, but since 2014, and they give statistics for deaths by drowning. This is reported, so it may not be completely accurate, but it's the best source we have, and it is publicly available, and the website's out there for anybody to access. And they categorize by unguarded beaches and guarded beaches. And so in the Brevard County, since 2014, so for the last 10 years, in the unguarded stretch of Brevard County, which is approximately 44 miles, there's been 4.7 drownings per year. Since 2000 to 2013, it was on an average of 3.4, so we've gone up by almost 1.5 drownings per year. And obviously, it doesn't do it in increments less than one. Obviously, you can see in the data, if you have it in front of you, that we've only had, I think, 2 or 3 drownings in guarded beaches since 2000. So obviously, it goes without saying, the data supports it. Swimming on a beach where there's lifeguards present is the safest thing to do. But we only have 16 miles of guarded beach in the entire county. So the remainder of those that are available to the public, 40-plus miles, are left unguarded. Includes various Brevard County, Cocoa Beach, Cape Canaveral, so on and so forth. So my opinion on this is that we should be implementing the Drown Zero program as the town of Indialantic. We've clarified the indemnification for the town. I know there's concerns with regards to secondary effects or somebody else, entering the water and putting themselves at risk. The efficiency of the ring and people being able to throw it or use it properly, certainly those are considerations and risk factors. But I think the riskiest decision you can make is the fact that you go to an unguarded beach and go in the water. That's the first decision. So providing that life ring it provides is a tool that can be used if necessary. Obviously, if it's your kid in the water or somebody you love in the water, you're going to do whatever you take, whether you have a ring, a boogie board, a surfboard, or nothing. You're going to go in the water to help save them. If it's a stranger, obviously that changes the math. But in my opinion, yes, there's risk, but the biggest risk is that you go onto an unguarded beach. And so the only thing we can do there is improve the risks. And the one way to do that is by adding a life ring station. Or we get the county to pay for more lifeguards, but I'm betting the life ring station's the most viable solution.
Yeah. Brett?
Yeah, I'm in support of it, particularly at our beaches, like on Satellite Beach or Cocoa Beach, where they have a long, slow grade. A lot of people, especially tourists, they don't realize, we have troughs, right? And that first trough is 2 or 3 feet, from the shoreline right there. And it drops, depending on the tide, it can go 3, 4, 5 feet even on, big swells and such. People get caught like that and they have no idea. And you can throw the ring in that distance, so I do think we could potentially save lives this way, so.
John?
I think it's a great idea. Fully support it.
Carrie?
I'm all for it.
All right. Yeah, well, we're good. Well, so I think with my heart says yes, my head says no because of the USLA, but it doesn't matter what I think because there's 4. If it's going to be a vote, it's going to be 4-1, so it may as well be 5-0.
Why does your head say no?
Because the USLA, the Life Saving Association, that in the email that you may or may not have read. Yeah. Yeah, so for context, the USLA, which is the U.S. Life Saving Association, they're the accrediting agency of BCOR, Ocean Rescue. They are against them, and then also the Florida Beach Chiefs Patrol or Beach Patrol Chiefs Association, they are against them. So that's why my head says no, because here's 2 leading organizations that are against them. But they have saved lives, which is awesome. I appreciate Mr. Warnock's passion for life saving. They have saved lives, so that's hard to argue against.
Is there reasoning because people go in the water to throw them and such?
Yeah, and so also in that email that you didn't read.
I'm fine with it.
No.
I did not read the email.
Right. There was a study done in South Florida by an oceanographer he has like a PhD in like riptides or something like that. And they found there were 2 things. One, not a single person threw it. There's a right way and a wrong way to throw it. Not a single person in the study threw it the right way. Like you throw it underhand, not like a frisbee. Right.
The granny shot.
Right. And then also, I guess on flat beaches that are in South Florida, rip currents are farther than what people can throw. And here on steep beaches, the rip currents are stronger than the people can. They get taken out before somebody can go get it. So that the study, right? But as we've seen, they've worked. So,
and look at these numbers. This 2024 deaths of unguarded beaches. I'm pretty sure all 3 of those was in the Atlantic.
We had like 8 in 3 months or something.
Wait, not 8.
In 2023, we did.
23,
Well, 23.
yeah.
I'm saying 24 though. There was only 3.
Oh.
I think there were all 3 here.
That was 23. Wasn't.
We didn't have the 3 this time last year, or this.
No, they were all the year before that.
No, because we've had lifeguards.
Dad from New York went out.
You're getting old, Brett. The years are going
I
by
know, I'm
faster.
saying,
That was 23.
Okay, but that's an example right there. Like, right, there's deaths where it's the person that goes out, like that. What was he, like a soccer coach from New York went out after his kids right here. His kids made it in.
Yeah.
He died from a heart attack. It's like, if there was a ring there, that might have saved everybody. So.
Right.
I just think particularly our beaches, because I was initially against this before being on council, but I was just an audience member. But particularly our beaches, the way a lot of people are just completely unaware. They don't realize that you think you're stepping off in ankle-high water and boom, you're going down. And the riptides, it's been really, really bad the past couple of years. So I think the odds are better than not.
You guys need a vote or consensus? Okay.
And maybe also throw it in there about whatever we decide, working with the organization and staff, the fire chief and public works and myself on the numbers and stuff like that and evaluating and getting into that type of an agreement to move forward with it.
Kristen, do you have any input?
I was just going to add that legal will need to review the agreement, of course, before we finalize anything.
Sure.
And we would also want to verify the insurance information we previously discussed, so we can maintain a copy of the declaration for our records.
Chief?
Just a quick comment or a question rather, and I'll give kudos to the town clerk for coming up with this idea. If you do vote to do that, is there a way that we could have added to the stands the location where they are? Because when people call 911, they say I'm on the beach. They have no idea where they are. If they could say I'm at Nance Park, I'm at access number, not crossover number, but access number 5, and we could put that right there on the sign?
Yeah, absolutely. Good evening, Mayor, Manager, Council, Chiefs, and staff. Thank you. Thanks for considering this. Let me speak on some of the I'm a lifelong USLA member, Vice President once of the Beach Patrol Association. To clarify their differences, initially USLA, which is the national big one, Chiefs is local for Florida, they were against the tube. It was a yellow cylinder tube that you see lifeguards use. They're out there. There are lifeguards that are embracing that device in Navarre and Pensacola right now. And that's because that's a piece of lifeguard equipment, professional equipment, and they're putting that out there for laymen to use. And I agree that that shouldn't be used. That's a USLA stand on that. The ring was a different issue, what you said about the testing and so forth. So I just wanted to clarify that. And yes, sir, Chief, on them, they do have the address. That was one of the things that we, being a lifeguard, every day about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, missing children, people didn't know where they were at. So that was one of the first things we put on, is at the bottom of each of the toppers that they have you guys, I'm sorry I don't have a picture. They have a little topper that can be adopted and so forth, but the main thing on that is the name of the street. Like Grosse Pointe. If you go down to Grosse Pointe, I'm proud to say that got adopted just after that rescue, and it was a heartfelt adoption. Has any of you guys been down to see Grosse Pointe? It says on there, we adopted this station because it saved 2 children. I don't have any other adoption like that. That's amazing. But it does to speak to that.
I know at one point you mentioned that they're going to include a GPS tracker. Is that right? Do they already have that or no?
They have that, and
is it just an ELT kind of thing?
Pardon me?
Is it like an ELT kind of thing? The emergency locator beacon?
It works. It's amazing. I'm going to speak on that. Have you heard anything about this, Chief? There's some oversights that went into this, which were mainly communication in front of it. When we took it to the county EOC, we asked them how they wanted us to dial it in. They helped us design how they wanted. We wanted it originally like a ring. When someone walked up, it would go, "What's your emergency?" And you could see the person talk two-way. We have that technology. But EOC said, no, we want to do it more like I fall and I can't get up. Like if someone couldn't answer and they fell down, it would be an automatic response. Well, we came up with mitigation to what we consider tampering, vandalism, or false calls. And that is, we have a whole, we'd have to have another meeting to describe everything, but it's a dashboard that has green and red, and lets you know if the ring is there, if the ring is gone. We have GPS on it. Well, we went online in April, the end of April, and for some reason, we had these things beta tested for a year. And in that whole year, with 21 of those being smart, we might have had 14 tamperings in a year. Every station that we had almost on April 22nd, 23rd, someone tampered with. So that was an overload to all the, they're like, what the heck is going on? And where we misstepped was we expected, hindsight, as Ground Zero and our colleagues expected EOC and asked these questions. Will you get out in front of it? And we have a one-pager that the officers can have put in a fire truck that describes what's going on with it, contact information for maintenance or whatever. If they come up and find something out of place, we had one high tower, some homeless guy pulled all the electronics out of it when the officer went down there. They reached out to us, things like that. It was unusual because for that whole year of beta testing, we didn't have these issues. But as soon as we go live, so it kind of burped the system and people were concerned. And yes, we have the smart technology. We're smoothing those issues out. We'd be very honored to bring those to Indialantic. Melbourne Beach is all about it. Where we just spoke with Indialantic Rotary Club had as a guest speaker today, the Satellite Beach or Indian Harbor Beach. Yeah, and he is 100% behind it, as well as Satellite Beach. Let it be known that the city of Cocoa Beach wasn't, because they were the ones that had some of that inundation and weren't informed. So we're circling back with them and trying to put out those fires. But that technology has never been done anywhere in the world. And when we lit that up and saw that it worked, and the seconds that are saved, because one of the things that was said to us in Cocoa Beach was they think we're creating a solution to a problem that doesn't exist. That's what a lot of engineers might hear with something that's not working right. And not so. They're trying to tell us that anyone and everyone on the beach is going to have a phone, and they're going to call, and that's not the case. There's cases where your phone's at the bottom of your bag being protected or whatever, and something happens. You don't have time to get that phone if you're the only one out there. So it is a stopgap. It's fast. It happens immediately. And even with the little tamperings that we had, it works. So we just, we want to bring that to you guys if you're interested. And again, that's no extra cost to you guys. You know, our idea at Ground Zero International is that every station that we put out, and we just got an order from Fernandina and an order from Sanibel Island. We want them all to go out with smart technology. It's just a matter of hindsight being 20/20, getting out in front of the communications and not having a call come in, and the officer's like, what the heck is a Ground Zero station? That was kind of our biggest concern. But thanks for asking about that. We're really excited about it.
I'd like to see a launching mechanism. That'd be cool.
They do have a gun that shoots. Have you guys seen that? It's like a
Do they
gun that
really?
shoots a line out. But I'm not a fan of lines. In fact, I think we may have talked about this. We don't have lines on our stations because in turbulent water, that line becomes hazardous.
Right.
But yeah, they do have a line thing that shoots, which I like, but I don't like the line.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, it is.
It'd get out a lot farther too. You know, somebody gets swept out, launch it out to them. Anyway.
Sure, yeah.
Slingshot.
Yeah.
We need to sit you down in the smart group and talk about it.
Yeah.
Get things going.
Yeah. Anyway, so we need a motion, council.
Any other public comment?
We'll do that after.
Oh, okay, fair enough. I'll make a motion that the, I do have one question.
Yeah.
Did we request from staff to identify a number of stations, or is that something we would do going forward from tonight?
We've gone back and forth on that. I think we were at 14.
15.
15.
We spoke about anywhere from probably 10 to 20 is what it kind of looks like where we measured it out.
Okay.
Depending on the crossover, and this is in between.
Yeah.
Starting at Sunrise and moving towards Blue Beach and then down to Nance Park, so.
Okay. All the way to Sea Park, right? Just, all the way, just.
So for the record, Chief Maddox was saying 10 to 20. Yeah. Is that good, Molly? Thank you. All right.
Yeah. That's one thing we would sit down and evaluate. with
Fair enough,
Wyatt
fair
and,
enough. I was curious more than anything else.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'll make a motion that we adopt, that the town adopts the Ground Zero program, and the town staff to work with Ground Zero program to identify the number of stations, the configuration of the stations, and look at the GPS tracking, as well as review the insurance and legal terms.
No other comments? Public comment?
I'll second.
Oh, second. All right, public comment? No? All right, all those,
Second, Carrie.
all those in favor of approving town participation in Ground Zero, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Moving on. Discuss, approve council members to attend the Florida League of Cities Annual Conference, August 14th through the 16th, 2025, and designate a voting delegate to the 2025 Florida League of Cities Conference. So if I read correctly, Doug, you can't go. You're the alternate. John, you can't go. You're the primary.
Yep. Be in Gainesville that weekend.
Yes. And Brett, you have a kid or two kids, so you probably can't.
Inexcusable.
What is it? What's the time?
August 14th, 16th.
What's the weekend, I believe? Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
The 16th.
Search, I don't see this email that you were talking about.
It was a while back. We already voted on that. We're good.
I'm dead serious though.
Yes.
I'm trying not to throw it on Carrie, because Carrie's doing a lot already, and she's
Be in
not.
Montana.
Okay, Carrie can't do it anyway. Who knows, Mike, do you know the importance of this conference?
Thursday and a Friday.
Yeah.
Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Thursday, Friday.
Yeah. And just, I haven't normally gone because we've had our accounts person going, but if no one's available to go, I could attend the meeting and bring back anything useful too.
Yeah, I mean, it's a leadership conference or something.
It's made for, yeah, senior management and elected officials.
Correct.
All right.
Mr. Mayor, I'm fine if we have send Mike or
Yeah.
somebody from staff. I think it's important somebody's there to understand what's going on, given the
And you can
availability of the council or lack.
you can be our voting delegate too. You don't have to be an elected official.
I don't think he can vote. Yeah, I don't think, if we can, I'll check into it.
Okay.
That's fine.
Is there a motion to approve the town manager to attend the Florida League of Cities annual conference?
I'll make a motion for the town manager to attend the Florida League of Cities
Is there a second?
I'll second.
conference.
Any comments? No? Public comment? All right. All those in favor of approving town manager to attend the Florida League of Cities annual conference, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, unanimous. All right, discuss the boardwalk design project bids received. This is kind of mine, I guess. So, yes, as the packet indicates, we interviewed two. And Mike, I didn't mention when I sent you that text that I was going to be there at 11:30. I thought I was being 30 minutes early. Apparently, I missed the point where the first interview was moved up to 10.
Oh, no.
I thought I was getting there early for the 12 interview. So I only was really there for one of the interviews, which was BSE. So I thought they were both good. I just kind of listened. My dad, for everybody who doesn't know, has been in this realm for 50 years. He kind of led the interview with Mike. And he had some questions. And, he kind of made his recommendation off of what he had heard. BSE was good. I liked their passion. However, he's recommending, and I agree, and Mike, you agree with the recommendation?
Yeah, land design, he
Yeah,
recommended
land
based
design.
upon, he thinks, the projects they've done, and there's some examples in their packet that's in here, this
Yeah.
packet.
Bottom line, I think the creativity would probably be better or higher from them, and also the public outreach program or whatever was more robust within the price that they gave versus, we could have gotten the same out of BSE, but it would have been at an extra cost. So,
I missed that part, thank you.
And all the bids were the exact same. We got three quotes in, or three bids. They're all at $35,000, so they're exactly what we said. We have more money set aside, but that was what we figured based upon Mr. McDermott's recommendation. And we were actually at one point thought we wouldn't get that many in and might have to go out, but we got 3 good bids in.
yeah. So, I don't know, Carrie, do you have any input? Questions? All right. John? No. Brett? Doug?
Just to be clear on what they deliver us, I know I looked at it last night, just in terms of deliverables, so if we get to the end of the period of performance, we get to keep the plans and such, and so if we decide to put it on ice for, 5 years, we don't lose that. Not saying we will, but I just want to make sure the work products that come out of this we own, and if we wanted to go somewhere else with them, we could. I just don't want to be signing up that this is an exclusive agreement. Is that?
And I don't believe they're coming in with like plans, ready to go out and like, they're coming with a
No, I
concept
know they're not
or-
shovel-ready. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
more like concept plans and phases and notional pricing, price points and stuff, but they would provide, all of that would be given to us in the either electronic format or hard copy.
I believe so, but I can double check and I can refer to our attorney before we do finalize anything.
Okay, that's fine. That's my only real question. I would agree generally that they had a more impressive bid.
Yeah.
I wasn't there, obviously, so I can't speak for the
Right.
presentation.
Yeah, so no other questions? Do you need a vote or?
Let me just ask for clarification. When you're discussing or, inquiring about the ownership, are you talking about the actual renderings, sketching, and the site plans you'd like?
Ideally, yes, yeah, we'd like to have us to have that, and not have to go back to them for it if we wanted to hold another workshop, for instance, at our own, on our own.
Okay, okay, great.
Yeah, we can verify that too, because I don't see an example in here about that so far in their contract.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we are not equipped, nor would we plan to go forward with, into a extensive planning phase based on that. We would have to engage with either the land firm or land planning or another firm.
Right. So you guys, do you need a vote or consensus?
I think consensus is appropriate in this instance for now.
All right. Consensus is move forward with land design, pending.
So do we expect you guys to go initiate the contract based on tonight, or would you plan to come back to council in June with that? Assuming you can get agreement between now and then.
I mean, we have to
Fine
work
with
the contract.
either.
If they bring it back to you all for final approval.
Okay, okay, all right.
So we can do that before the next meeting.
Yes. It needs to come back.
Okay. It needs to come back, okay.
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 And so they were talking like 3-month process from beginning to end. That includes the multiple public workshops and design, and, so by the fall, we could have a concept. And per the RFP, theoretically, it will be detailed enough where we can start applying for grants if we were to move forward, so.
And just to specify, this is above the threshold for the town manager, which is why it would need to come back for approval on the contract.
Correct.
Well, could we vote now to approve it is up to 35,000 pending?
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we have to vote on that then. I think is the key, is the difference. That's why I was asking if we're going to move forward with awarding it, I think we need to vote on it. If we wanted to just do consensus, that would be to move forward with negotiation, and then we could approve it next month. I'm fine with approving it now with the not to exceed number, as you said.
Right. So if we were to do that, it could theoretically, the project could start June 1st, right?
It could, yeah, we have to see when they're ready, but we'd work on getting the contract as soon as possible, working with them.
Right. No.
So 2 weeks, I picture that'd be probably plenty of time to get into the contract.
So we'll need a motion.
I'll make the motion to direct the town manager to work with land planning.
Land design.
Land design, I'll get it right one of these days. With land design, to finalize the contract not to exceed $35,000 for the proposal that they provided, and to confirm that the town will take receipt of the work products at the conclusion of the period of performance.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, that was Carrie. Public comment? None. All right, all those in favor of approving the town manager to enter into an agreement with land design not to exceed 35,000, say aye.
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 All opposed? All right, unanimous. We're moving through this quicker than I thought we would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't jinx us.
All right. All right. Item 5, residents' request for skate ramp in Nance Park and exploring the possibility of combining such an improvement with the boardwalk improvements newly proposed Sunrise Park improvements into a large design funding project. Brett, you kind of brought this up.
Yeah, I was approached by some residents that were interested in, having the addition of, instead of skate ramp, I envision it as like a bowl or something of that nature, but kind of like a small little skate park area in the area of Nance Park that's not used. This should be able to be included within, the initiative that Mark's doing, because that is part of the area. But more broadly, I was thinking that if there's another group that's also trying to do Sunrise Park, that it seems it would make sense to do it all together and seek funding all at the same time, as opposed to, having very kind of disparate competing interests. So I just wanted to, bring that up for discussion and see what the thoughts were.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
Just input on the Parks Committee, Sarah had reached out after the last meeting, and she was considering asking to move the basketball court to Nance Park to get rid of that controversy. So I don't, just let y'all aware, that would be one of the things they might be asking without the basketball court up there.
Yeah. About the funding, I asked Jason Steele about it, who's our, lobbyist and connection to Tallahassee. He honestly, he didn't know for sure. He's like, yeah, they generally like to kind of keep everything, separate project from separate project, but because it's the same concept, just with a couple properties in between, it may work. So there's really no definitive answer to that, but I would probably plan on not getting it that way. But yeah, combined Sunrise and Nance. He didn't say it wasn't possible. He didn't know for sure, but
Don't count on it.
right, don't count on it.
Yeah, pragmatically, that doesn't make any sense to me, because it's just like,
Well,
we're one town and it's beach projects, right? For like parks and the beach projects.
I mean, I know we're part of government, but does that mean that we're any more pragmatic than anybody else? Or any less pragmatic? Anyway, but yeah, I mean, as far as the specifics, I mean, I had a skate ramp. I don't know if I want a skate ramp at Nance Park, but I think that's something that can be done at the public outreach.
Yeah, that part, that's fine. I mean, I fully support it. I think it'd be great. Like, if you ever seen like what the Venice Park's like, and, people want to complain about noise in all the other areas. That's what I really wanted to put in Orlando Park. But it would be sweet if you had like a pump track too and such. But I think more broadly, it's what I'm more interested in is combining it all, because unfortunately, I don't think the Sunrise is going to have much chance if there's a sole focus on just the boardwalk in Nance. I think they're going to struggle getting their funding without it being all combined together, and that, frankly, I think would be unfortunate. So I think it's something that we should consider trying to do. As a one-shot deal. I mean, otherwise we're just going to be continuously hitting up the same sources for funding.
I think it'll be different, honestly. There's going to be different people doing the boardwalk in Nance. But
As opposed to Sunrise.
yeah,
Yeah. The shot of it getting done is not going to be very good.
yeah.
But I
Carrie?
understand your interest.
Yeah.
Your motivation.
Yeah, and for the record, I'm not opposed to trying to combine them. I do think it's a good idea. I just don't know if it's going to happen in Tallahassee. So
I think it's one of those situations where, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right either way. So
yeah,
maybe we should think we can.
yeah. Carrie?
It was my understanding from Sarah, when they did the presentation last month, that they had secured private funding already to redo the project at Sunrise. So,
I got the impression that she was working on it. And, it sounded like she was confident, like she could probably get it done.
Maybe commitment, secure, maybe it was a strong, but yeah, I would agree.
Yeah,
with
and that's kind of where I was going with Brett, that I think it's going to be different people doing Sunrise versus Nance.
See, I see it as, there's going to be millions of dollars involved probably doing the whole thing. So I don't know that private funding is going to get it done for one of the parks. So I do think, they would have to seek some sort of either appropriation or grant, or, whether at the state, county, another level. I don't think what they're asking for is overwhelming compared to what we would be doing for the boardwalk. So it seems like, hey, and I'm just throwing out very generic numbers, but it's like, if the boardwalk were to cost like $1 million and Sunrise, would be like 200,000, then it kind of seems like somewhat of a negligible increase in order to seek 1.2.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I just don't know if it's going to happen.
Far away from knowing what the costs are going to be. But
Carrie, do you have any input on a skate park specifically?
so I'm not even so much worried about the skate park, because again, that can be raised and addressed at
Okay.
the design phase of the Nance stuff. Although that was somebody came up and specifically asked me about bringing that up for discussion, but I think we have the ability to discuss that when doing the design for the boardwalk in the Nance area. But I guess my interest is more trying to pursue the funding altogether.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's a good idea. don't know if it's going to happen, but we can certainly look into it.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
So when I was communicating with Sarah about this meeting, she wanted to know if she had to be here, and I go, no, there's nothing there. And back and forth, she's like, I said, we got to find funds first. She goes, oh, I'm working on that right now. So she is working on it.
Yeah.
So is the intent there to have that fully privately funded?
We did that for the phase of Mikey Goodwin. We got to remember, state appropriations, even, they worked it in as a grant technically for the Mikey Goodwin second phase, where we used our first phase of the money raised as our matching grants. Because most grants that are coming from there have some type of mutual matching, depending on the value of it, from anywhere from,
30 to 50%.
it was 50%. We had to do 50% on that one because of the amount. It's up to, you can get up to 100%, but it's like if your project's over $50,000, you can't get that. So that's why sometimes we used to try to break up some of these projects apart in separate projects, the previous town manager, because it would be funded 100% rather than going for 3 swing sets,
Any other comments? Nope. All right, moving on. Discuss updating Resolution 12, 2024 procurement policy, raising town manager's purchasing threshold from 5,000 to 20,000. Carrie?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This falls right in line with the proposed of revamping Sunrise Park and putting in a skate park at Nance and other things that we want to do that can involve the community. The current threshold is $5,000 for any expenditure with town council approval. We all know why it was put in place. It's kind of moot now. And I think the fact that we are going to encourage donations from the town as they come in, I think it's important to raise that threshold to, and I talked with Mike Casey about it, and the number that he liked was $20,000, from $5,000 to $20,000. So I'm proposing that we raise that threshold with town council approval from $5,000 to $20,000. My primary goal in doing so is so we can get donations coming. We have some big projects looming, and I think the more that we encourage our town to participate financially in it, I think the quicker we can get these projects done.
My question would be, I'm having a hard time connecting the dots between the donation and the amount spent. Does the donation, like, somebody can donate 100 grand, and then all we need to do is approve the 100 grand for whatever it's being spent on, right? We're not approving how much or even who it is, right? I mean,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
I mean, I'm not opposed to raising it, but John, do you have anything? Right?
Do you have any examples, Mike, of things that would have been, more efficient or easier if you had the authority up to like 15 or 20?
Yeah, there's certain things, I mean, in emergencies I can do it, but, situations where we've had repairs to fire trucks and stuff that over 10 grand, I've done it because we need that fire truck back in. But for example, if we had a police car, it may not be an emergency because we have extra police cars, that we wait on a repair for something and things. And remind you that you get a report at the end of the month of anything's greater than $5,000 anyway. So it's not like it's going to be out there hidden away. So every month we're putting in anything 5,000 or greater. It just gives me the flexibility in things during that time. It was $50,000 previously.
Are people not donating? Do you know people not donating because of this?
I know one that stopped.
Yeah. And it could be somebody who was donating, say they wanted to donate $9,000 or something, and they're like, but they want it for the specific thing.
Right.
I can't say, okay, we'll take the money. Now I have to come to you all to see it's okay to spend that money for it.
Is there an outstanding thing that there will be a $20,000 donation and you'll be putting it towards something right away?
Did I hear you're volunteering $20,000?
What's that?
You just vote, you're donating $20,000, I heard.
For the skate park?
You're gonna need to go north of
Pump track first, then bowl.
Yeah.
And there's some
Not,
other
there's nothing
things.
currently on the books.
There's some other things that we haven't, that hasn't come before council yet, that are kind of in early discussions, and that's going to require private funding, and I've already done some background work and already have it funded.
Nice. I don't mean to sidetrack the discussion. I remember there was also a separate but related issue about the anonymity of donations. Did we resolve that?
I think we resolved it.
So,
Yes, I'm happy to speak on
yeah, please do. Because there's. some
Yes, the short answer is the town can accept anonymous donations in that the method or mechanism by which we customarily issue a receipt or some sort of paperwork that would be generated, which would of course then become public record, would not be generated upon request by the person who is giving the donation. So the onus on them of whatever they do to track the money on their part, obviously we could never down the road verify receipt of that specific donation should they circle back. But it's just a matter of doing what we would normally do to intake a donation, whether that's electronically or not. We just wouldn't generate paperwork with the name of the individual at their request. So, because anything we would create with their name would obviously have to be produced if it was ever sought by the public.
Sounds amazing. So I will definitely be making anonymous donations to hit the deduction limit on my taxes.
How do you
There's
get-
no receipt. Oh, I did a $50,000 donation to Indialantic. Oh, no receipt, you don't know, but I'm gonna
How do you
deduct
get
it
a
on my
tax
I am not speaking to the tax law.
Yeah, man, no, I would hope so, yeah.
That was all facetious. I hope everyone understands that.
I just wanted to be transparent, though. The reason why I brought it forward was so we could have donations.
Absolutely, I fully support that. And I didn't know if that was a related issue to this increase request at all, if it is or is not.
I think, yeah, I think,
Yeah.
yeah, she.
Well, people want to make it rain, let's do it.
I mean, that's still, I guess, where I'm still confused. Like, if people can donate anonymously, how does that affect what we approve and don't approve?
So, I think what,
They have something in mind
What-
that they want. to
what
accomplish.
they want to do, let's say they want to donate $10,000 to help fund
Yeah,
more flock cameras, just for an example.
right.
If they donated $10,000, Mike cannot guarantee that money will be allocated to that specific line item in the budget. If he brings it to the council and we say, no, we don't want more flock cameras, then we would either return that donation because maybe there was conditions attached.
Right, which
or-
turns into a hassle.
Or something else.
Right.
Now, so people then would say, hey, if I can't have it go to what I want it to, then I'm not going to donate.
Right.
Is that
Okay.
an accurate, mostly accurate assessment?
You hit the nail right on the head.
Yeah.
Thank you. So I'll speak as the person who helped draft the original resolution for procurement. When we originally did it, I forget what the amount was that I proposed. We brought it down to 5, and when we actually approved it, 3 years ago or whatever it was, we actually said during the reading, if you go back and listen to it, I'm pretty sure we would reevaluate and raise the limit based on what we thought was the right route. I'm comfortable with that, what Carrie's, what Councilwoman is proposing, and I'm in favor. So.
All right. So is there a motion?
I'll make the motion that we increase the resolution procurement policy 12-2024 to raising the town manager's purchasing threshold from $5,000 to $20,000.
Is there, okay.
I still have questions I want to discuss, just because.
Yeah.
Can you remind me, Doug, on the procurement policy, as far as the manager can spend the money up to the threshold on anything, any normal, like, operational managerial type thing?
Yeah, so the exceptions to the procurement policy, or exemptions, I should say, where if it's already an approved line item in the budget, he doesn't have to come seek council approval, like if we're buying a fire engine, for example, or a police car, for example, or an audio system, or whatever. If it's in the budget, it doesn't have to come approved, we've already approved the budget, that was already done.
Up to the threshold.
Well, if it's in the budget, it can be whatever
Okay,
amount
okay.
is, because we've
Even
approved
above.
that budget.
Right.
We don't need, he doesn't need to come to council. So it's more just discretion if something comes up, such as we need to replace the generator, and we have reserve funds for it, something along those lines. Or if we have a pothole that pops up when you just spend the $10,000 to get it fixed. I mean, that would be an emergency, so it probably is exempt. So it's a pretty narrow window, but it's essentially, if it's not a public safety concern and it's not in the budget, then we would give him discretion on how to spend up to $20,000 of money. Obviously, we have the understanding and relationship with the town manager on the town goals and objectives, so that we would, allow him to do his job between the 30-day meetings. So that's the intent there, is to really just decide on what we're comfortable with from a procurement allocation standpoint. And it really applies to that narrow lane of unplanned expenses that don't impact public safety, because it is an exemption for that, and that are not in the budget. And in reality, I don't know on a month-to-month basis how many of those things really occur. Obviously, we can go back and look at the reports, because it's
Not a month-to-month basis, but every once in a while, a couple times a budget year or something. So
and one of the, maybe.
this is all, but this is brought up because of one reason, we know that, so. I mean,
So in this particular instance, there's unintended consequences, of that would be from a donation standpoint for a specific thing that the donor wanted. Obviously, if they want
And
to change the name of the town hall, that's not gonna happen, because other things. If they wanna do something that's not consistent with, wanna put a digital sign up, obviously that's not something we're gonna go do. So it's gonna be consistent with, the expectation is that if there's a donation, the town manager would evaluate it to be consistent with what the town what the town objectives and goals are.
Yeah,
And
I'm
if
just worried about if, something like the flock system, right? Maybe not that exactly, but someone's like, oh, I want, this will help make the residents safe if we have drones flying over, and I'm like, no, that's a violation of my, right to privacy, like,
Wait.
so that's the gray area where,
Yeah.
because I'm very much liberté. So, yeah, can we just put a little clause in there? If the decision has any implication on the residents' civil rights, then
Well, that would be,
have to
that
come
would
to
be,
council.
we'd have to rewrite the procurement policy, so there's a bit of trust
Right.
in there, and if the council decides that theoretically speaking, that we didn't like with the decision of the town manager, we could vote to override it. So nothing that they would go do would, in my opinion, given what we're talking about, is gonna be crimes against humanity that can't be gone back the other
Well,
way.
the flock system was.
But you still can pull it out.
Yeah, but it was contractual, there was a contract signed.
You
so
can still,
couldn't
you can still,
reverse that clause.
you can still pull it out. I mean,
Maybe out the money, but we could reverse it.
Right. So we don't we have to trust the staff to do their job, and it's just my opinion, and if we don't trust them to do the job, then we need to find somebody else to do the job. So I trust them to do the job.
No, I
Not
trust
saying you
them to
don't.
do the job, too.
Not saying you don't. Sorry, I put words in your mouth. But, so if we don't feel comfortable with it, then that's fine, but,
Does this donation have to do anything with cameras or surveillance?
Well, this all came about because of the flock system.
Yeah,
So,
right.
and I wasn't on council then, and I donated the money, and it became.
Oh, really?
It became a big thing.
Oh,
Did
that
it
was
not?
nice of you.
So,
246.
I'm just being transparent. That's why it happened.
Right, oh, no, absolutely, and, see, I fall on the side of, yeah, that's like a excessive surveillance type situation, but,
If it makes you feel any better, these are in public, all these things that we're talking about, that we're wanting to raise money and have money donated for, are all public places. So I don't think there's any expectation of privacy in a public space.
that's fair. This is really for some sort of security or protection type measure. I don't know.
See, to me, I don't view this as
Just for
if we're worried about, donations from anonymous sources being directed towards things in the town that we don't believe should be done, then that's a different discussion point. than the procurement policy. The procurement policy was not intended to regulate donations as alternate funding sources, if you will, if you want to call it that. There was discussion, it didn't go anywhere because this becomes very problematic. How do you write a policy or some other procedural rule to establish that the town shall not enact surveillance mechanisms or something? If that's the desire, then we should do that as a separate standalone policy or a separate standalone understanding that this is a procurement policy that is intended to be used broadly across the discretion of, things that are not in the budget, whether they're donations or otherwise, and things that are not public safety related. So it just provides guidance there. If we think there's a loophole or a blind spot there, that I don't think that's addressed by the procurement policy. That would be a separate standalone document.
I think that's a good point.
No, that's a fair point, but there's obviously something at hand.
So there's something to talk about in June.
Pardon me?
There's something to talk about in June now about that.
Well, how I would approach this, I would go talk to Mike directly and just find out more information about what, if there's some specific concerns you have, then that would be my recommendation. And if you obviously have something you want to address at the council, we can certainly do that here or in June.
Is there public?
So we just fleshed all this out, though. This wasn't, no way we're going to be able to figure all that out just by reading it on the agenda. Do you know what I mean? There's some sort of intent behind this particular situation.
And I do want to just kind of chime in to say that receipt of anonymous donations and the intent or commitment to make purchases, if what I'm hearing, are two separate issues. And, so to speak on the receipt of the anonymous donation aspect, I've done the legwork on that. As far as if it's the council's will to make an additional, opportunity there, option there for procurement to happen without approval up to a new threshold. I don't necessarily, they go hand in hand for some specific reason at this point possibly, but in general, they really are two separate issues.
Absolutely. There's three separate issues, and it's the third issue that we're not even which Doug was just bringing up as far as, addressing a policy about approval to what type of things can you actually purchase. That's where my concern is. It's not in this, but from a practical standpoint, that is a consequence of what's involved in this. I'm fine with raising it to 20,000, but I'm curious to know what this silent donation up to $20,000 is going to be, and that Mike's then going to go immediately, or it sounds like, purchase and potentially enact. It's that aspect of it that, I would like, again, I'm very, very much on the civil rights side to where, those type of issues, I want us to be able to have, those are policy decisions. I want to be able for us to have, say in those. So it's related to the procurement policy as far as the type of things that need to come before council.
Separate issue. We have a motion and a second.
Public comment? Yep.
Maria Endres, 1145 North Shannon. I don't like to get up here and talk, but for this, I'm getting up. There's a reason why it's $5,000. He can always approach you all and say, hey, somebody wants to donate $20,000 for XYZ. What do you think about it? And it's important that you, who represent us, have the ability to say yay or nay. And if somebody comes and says, hey, Mike, I've got $20,000 or $19,000, but I want it to go to this, more cameras. And he goes, okay, I have the ability to do $20,000. Sure. So the $5,000 is a great limit. And if there's anything that needs to be brought before you all can act on it pretty quickly. It can wait till the next meeting. I don't think there's anything that's going to require an emergency that has to be decided right at that second. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Hi, Diogo Adrados, 420 11th Ave. So, I mean, I guess I understand the idea that, like, you want to earmark a donation, so you need to have the $20,000 so that you can do that. And I can see all sorts of great things that you might do that for. If it's something that many would disagree or that the council would disagree, it sounds like there's a $5,000 limit where it would then come in some kind of line item the next month, right? Like if you spent $20,000, that's above a $5,000 threshold, so it would still show up.
Yeah, anything over 5,000 needs approval.
Anything over now, but I mean,
Right.
if you spend less than 5,000, it won't even you won't even see it at a monthly
Correct.
But if it's over 5,000, it won't need approval, but we'll still all see it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but I believe, right now, we do get at the end of the month a report on
Yeah, and it's actually $10,000 that, because that was originally 5,000, I'm sorry, and we upped it to 10,000. But for example, today, we've talked, and the mayor's familiar, we've had a couple emails about the end of 11th Avenue and people having, on 12th down there having egress to the bike path.
Right. I would love to pay maybe for that to happen, right? So that
Okay.
makes sense.
So it's already moving forward.
Right.
We're putting sidewalks in there. It
Nice.
wouldn't have come forward for another month and a half or big fruition, because I just got some numbers in today. For $6,500, we're doing 3 streets.
Mm-hmm.
We have the money in our budget on a particular thing, but I was able to approve that.
Right.
But if they'd been 12,000, which we had some money there to do, I couldn't approve that without, so we're talking a 2-month delay of giving, it's not an emergency, but it's just the cost today and everything else.
Right. I guess part of the, Brett, your concern here is that something egregious is done or something that is against the will of the people is done with this money. But then we can rip out that exact thing, right? Like council the very next time can say, rip that thing out. So it's like we got.
Not really, because the whole, a couple of years ago, this flock system where it's if you're driving down A1A, there's a camera.
Oh, no, I remember it.
Yeah, okay.
That was the first time I ever talked to you.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
So you couldn't just take that out, right? Because there was a contract that we signed.
But that
so
was
it
a
in for
separate
a year.
procurement,
Yeah.
part of the procurement policy though, right?
That was before the procurement policy.
Well-
That's what led to the policy because it was just done without coming before council.
But I thought that there was a matter of recurring spending in the procurement policy. Because this was like a recurring contract, if it was like a one-time purchase, right? So is that not in the procurement policy?
I don't
Anything
remember.
about recurring spending versus
No.
one time?
Well, yeah, because there's also the contract one where you have, if you're gonna like sign a contract with like X amount, right?
Yeah, I
you
thought
have
there
to
were
go before
two-
us. Yeah, there were two.
there were
like,
two
separate but
violations.
related
There was-
policies at the time, right?
There was the money spent and the fact that it was recurring.
The recurring, it was a year, I believe it was a year, and anything after that would have been reapproved in the next year budget.
It wasn't reoccurring unless we approved it the following year.
But there must be something that prevents some endless contract from spending, right? Like
Well,
something
that's the
has to-
commitment, I believe I would have to go back and look through the procurement policy, but it has to do with the dollar value of that contract when you sign it. So
Okay.
if it's $15,000 at $5,000 over 3 years, perhaps that qualifies. But
Right.
if it's
So it's-
$15,000 a year for 3 years, then obviously that would be 45, and that wouldn't be exceeding the threshold.
And if it's in the
Exactly.
budget, then, it's part of the budget process.
Right, and that's outside of all this. Correct.
Right, but what I'm saying is the recurring would show up in the budget. If we knew, if the manager knew about it ahead of time, he would know about it, so it would be a line item in the budget. Correct.
I guess what I mean, am I wrong in stating that you're just gonna have wasted the donor's money, right? Like if a donor spends $20,000 and says, please install double the flock cameras, it's not amortized like per year. It's not spend $20,000 every year. It's like, this is the $20,000 you can spend. And then if the council, next time they meet, they'll have that line item, they'll see that, and then we can all show up here and say, rip it out. And then they wasted their $20,000.
Yes, the
Mike
council
looks bad.
could vote to direct to uninstall or unpurchase, if you will, undo whatever the act.
Right, and return the money.
Or not.
Well, or not, if the money's gone, right?
Well,
Fair point.
right.
The council would have to provide direction on that. That's correct.
I don't know. That's, I guess, what I had to say.
All right,
Yeah,
thank you.
Thanks.
And I don't know if y'all caught that the resolution from, that we're discussing currently has a $10,000 threshold,
Not the 5,000,
not
that's,
the 5,000.
that's a big difference.
That makes sense, because it doesn't say 5 is pretty low.
I thought it was 5.
I thought it was 5.
5 is what? Capital. Capital, for the record.
It started off at 5, I asked for 10, going back to memory. Because like I said, I can tell you in the last couple of months, you've all seen efforts, but the fire truck, we had like 11, 12,000, and one of the police cars was almost 10 grand.
Any other public comment?
Could I just say one thing, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
So these, I just want to be, it's a little disheartening to think that, that some of our townspeople might think that we would accept donations for the town to do something that was not in the town's best interest. So I just want to give you some examples. Before I was on town council, I would hear the fire department has no signage on their building. There was no signage there for years. So I donated the money so they could have a sign. So that sign out there, I paid for that with the donation. So these are things that benefit the town and the townspeople. It's easy, so much easier to see. If the garage doors are down, you can't really tell it's a fire department unless the doors are up. So you see that now. So you hear things when you're involved in your community. You hear the police department needs this. You know, the fire department needs that. The town needs this. The town would like money for, to redo Sunrise Park, you know, to make north of Fifth Avenue, you know, have a place for some of the younger families that have moved in north of Fifth Avenue to have a place to go versus Nance Park or Orlando Park. Orlando Park is beautiful, which is specifically for the residents of south of Fifth Avenue. North of Fifth Avenue, we have Sunset Park, which has no playground equipment. Sunrise Park currently has no playground equipment. And then Nance Park is for everyone in our community. So these are the kinds of things that I'm talking about. Nothing bad, you know, that is happening. And I think I personally have enough faith in our town manager and staff and our police chief and our fire chief that they're not going to accept one penny to do anything that doesn't better our town. So I just...
Before Brett bites his lip off, I completely agree, but I think the definition of what benefits the town varies when it comes to some hot button items such as flock cameras or, I mean, chief's not gonna put up drones, we know that, you know, but maybe, you know, whatever, you know, so you might think drones are a good idea. Brett doesn't. I don't like drones, but, you know, that's just the example. Who's going to argue against the signs, right? Nobody's going to argue against the signs, but that kind of sum it up.
No,
Right?
absolutely. My concern is not so much raising, and that's why I'm thinking I'm like, maybe we just need to come back and, you know, propose another form of the policy or you know, modification to the policy about certain types of decisions needing to come before council, even if it's within the threshold, you know what I mean? So I just need to chew on that and think about that.
I think that's fair. That's probably a good direction to go.
Yeah. But I can certainly see, just especially with how expensive everything is becoming, you know, you're running up against like an inefficient and practical way.
And Carrie, now that you know that it's 10,000, not 5,000, you still want to go to 20?
That was what Mike's suggestion was. I'm comfortable with it being any amount. I don't want to create conflict.
Right.
I want to make it easy for people to help us fund some of the big things that we want to do.
Okay. Any other comments?
Yeah, this leads me to another question, just related one. Because I remember when we did the procurement policy, and we're like, oh, we're going to do it as a policy, not an ordinance. You know, because then it's more flexible and we can change it. But then it creates the issue of I can't just necessarily find it really quick. We might want to consider having a spot on the website where it's like
For the policies?
policies, you know, are written so that we can actually,
Resolutions?
do we have that, Molly? And I just don't know of it.
Yes, we do.
Perfect.
It's called Muni Docs.
Are the policies in there, though?
The resolutions are, yes.
Okay, okay.
But like, but this purchasing policy, is that in it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because that's all, resolution policy, is that the same thing? I mean, that's a
Well,
dumb
yeah,
question, but.
policy, but it's created by resolution, so when there's a
Okay.
resolution, yeah. And I believe even proclamations are in there too, aren't they?
No, just resolutions
Okay,
at
just
this time, yep.
Okay.
But if any type of policy we're creating, if we're doing any things, like some of our ordinances allow us to change things by resolutions, they all in the Muni Docs.
And your dedicated clerk will be happy to provide any resolutions to you you're unable to find.
Thank you.
I agree with that.
All right.
Not right here when, 'cause I make a lot of decisions on the go right here.
So Brett, you think about your concerns, bring them up for discussion, and we can vote on this as it is. Yeah. So all those in favor of updating Resolution 12, 2024, up to $20,000 for the purchasing threshold, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right, unanimous. Um,
Thank you.
Discuss implementation of fire inspection and.
Dot.
Chief, you want to do this, or is this Mike's?
I can, if Chief wants to get up or take the microphone, he can kind of feed in.
Chief
this,
got
too.
dressed up for this, he should probably talk.
Yeah.
He's
He looks better than he did on Monday night.
Yeah, he looks.
I
But
look
this has
good
come
when
about
I'm in.
before conversation. Me and Molly had this like a year ago and stuff, and now Keith has been involved in it since he became chief. We're like the only municipality that's in charge. They do fire inspections, and they have to go back and re-inspect, because there's no penalty. Why would they, fix
Right.
the violation, and they still can't get their business tax receipt and things? So, just covering the cost of staff time and that, and I think the fire chief can further delve into the situation.
Yeah, so that's the situation. We basically would go to some of these inspections that we do, and we'd have, say, an issue, they would have the fire extinguishers be out of date, and then we'd go back and go back and go back and go back, and they would never actually fix the problem. So it could sometimes stretch out all the way for a year and still there's no really teeth to anything that we had. There was no policy. So all the other agencies, all the beachside departments, except us, didn't have an actual fire inspection fee. So that's why we're trying to implement this. And we're kind of, Mel Beach has a very, very aggressive policy, and down to satellite beaches, which is more in line with what we're probably going to go for if you guys want to do that. So it's going to be a basic fire inspection fee, an annual fee, or a BTR fee. It'll be tied to actually the building department at some point. They'll do the billing and that kind of thing. So it's really just to keep in up with all the rest of the communities as well. Also giving us the ability to go out and make sure people are doing the fire safety stuff that it's needed and required. So that's all. It's really basic policy.
Doug?
So really, because I looked through this last night, but this was the very end when I'd gone through all the audit reports, so I was really skimming pretty fast. So everything in here this is just a reference for the other
It
towns.
is, yeah. We haven't developed one yet. We
So
can
we
bring it back
would-
and develop it and bring it back to you for final approval.
Okay, I'm in favor.
Yeah. Brett?
What's I think Melbourne hits my building for like $150 a year. What are you thinking, like that range?
Yeah, well, actually, no, probably around, really Satellite Beach has a 50 up to 100, so probably around 75. And it can get very complicated. You can do it based on the occupancy, based on the amount of people, all the different things. So we're trying to do something basic in general, like a $75 a year annual fee. And they'll initially get that with their initial BTR. And, different, I don't know if we have how many actual Airbnbs we have, but that's a whole
Hopefully
separate
zero.
ballgame too. We could do that. Those are as well. So everything
Well,
that
no,
we
zero, I guess.
inspect.
Yeah.
Tour soon. Save that for next month.
Yeah.
Quite a few, actually.
Yeah, sorry.
Which is very expensive down in Mel Beach, very expensive for those annual, inspections for theirs. They're very aggressive with it, so.
Yeah. John? Carrie? Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with it.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
We'll prepare something to bring it back to council then.
Okay. And discuss item number 8, possible negotiations with the town of Melbourne Beach. This is regarding their fire services and
Yes.
stuff.
So they approached me a few months ago, and the chief, Currently, they have a volunteer fire service. We still respond as mutual aid if they request us. For a while, they were responding automatic aid, and the automatic aid is every time they were going out there, our fire is there going out, so we're losing the town coverage and things. They're not paying for the service, so we told them we'll do mutual aid, but we're not gonna do automatic aid.
Right.
And the county's the same situation, they'll do mutual aid, not automatic aid. They're still gonna send an ambulance, but they're not sending a whole fire truck and everything. Well, they've now approached, because the volunteer programs are basically kind of disintegrating through the country with this stuff. And with the ISO ratings and everything else, they approached us wanting